it comes down to good storytelling, right? Because you can tell a story, but you could bore your clients to a point where they're just not even listening anymore. And we want to avoid that, because now we're almost worse than if we were pitch slapping them. Getting them to a close that they thoroughly understand is really the key to successful closing appointments, or really just successful sales cycles in general. If I'm good at my job now, I know that I don't need to sit down and the first things come out of my mouth dominate the conversation. The first things that I want to do is hear about them now. I'm trying to build my mental image of who they are, where they've been in the past, what their struggles are, because I know that as I ask these questions, be a real good active listener, as I learn more and more and more about them, I'm going to be able to draw on stories from my Rolodex of stories in my head to build a masterpiece that will explain to them the specific benefits of doing what I suggest to them. And I want to do that because it's a much more concrete path to them understanding the benefits of my solution. You know, especially in the financial world, but I imagine in most industries, there are a ton of nuance and details, and the problem with it is most folks don't care about all these nuances and details. But when they start to see all these facts and features and benefits, a lot of people like to sell on features and benefits, the more we cloud their judgment, the prospect's judgment on what it is they really need, you create confusion in your prospect's mind. And the story has a better way for you to display those facts and benefits in action. Once we found the story from our imaginary bookshelf of all the stories that we have in our Rolodex, we have to deliver it in a way that's palatable to the client. We don't want them falling asleep on us now. So one of the best things we can do is pay constant mind as you're telling this story for you to tie the prospect into that story. You'll be telling a story about John and Jane Doe, but Mary Sue, the prospect in your office, may be having trouble figuring out why or who she fits into this story as, right? And so how does that apply to your prospect, right? So as we're going through the story, actively in the middle of the story, we want to make little gestures to say, well, you know, John and Jane Doe, they had a similar situation to you, Mary, where, you know, just like you, they had this sort of thing happen to them and this sort of thing happened to you. And now I'm tying Mary in. She said, oh, that's who I am in the story. That makes sense to me. Then as I'm tying them into the story and I'm telling them all of the ups and downs and all arounds of the journey, I need to be sure that I emphasize, as we're kind of concluding the story, the positive outcome, the net effect for the person I'm relating my prospect to. I really want her to understand, or my prospect to understand, that this is the reason that I'm telling you this story. We want them to visualize the success that this story, whoever this story is about, had on that prospect. And because I've tied my prospect into this story, they'll start to relate to that person inherently. And last, what I find is a really powerful thing is this kind of summarization of the whole story. What's the moral of the story? You see, prospect, this is why I suggest products like this. For X, Y, and Z reason. Yeah, there's some other features and benefits, but for X, Y, and Z reason mainly. And because it worked for Mary, I know it'll work for you. Because it worked for this person in this story, and you're just like this person in this story, that's the subtle undertones of great storytelling is, if I've tied them in, and I've given them the kind of the reasoning why, or the conclusion of the story, really tying that all together for them, and then I tell them the moral of the story, I can latch them into a level of understanding that will never be matched by just talking to them about features and benefits of my solution. Getting them to a close that they thoroughly understand is really key to successful closing appointments or really just successful sales cycles in general. The storytelling creates a level of understanding in which the client walks away and will retain that understanding for years and years and years to come. When you sell on products and benefits that are above the prospect's level of competency or understanding, you got to remember, as the salesperson, you're the expert on this product. You're the expert that's bringing them into this world. You're the person that solved a problem for them that they couldn't solve for themselves. So inherently, the prospect has a lesser understanding of this product or benefit that you've given them than you do. And so with the storytelling, it brings the level of understanding for the prospect to a higher level than, say, product features and benefits that are riddled with jargon and hard to understand concepts that, if they Googled the product themselves, they'd be left in a mass of confusion. And so what I find is storytelling, sales made through storytelling, or at least polished up by storytelling, survive the night, right? There's no buyer remorse that comes after it. There's no last-minute objections that come out of it. There's no year from now frustration, therefore more referrals. And so I find the storytelling to be one of the most powerful things for level of understanding of the why we're doing this solution rather than other things that might exist outside of there. And at the end of the day, storytelling is maybe not a huge secret, but it's an art and it's an important thing. We've got to be sure that we are emotionally connecting our prospects to our solutions when we present them. And we want to refrain from being the product or the features and benefit guys and gals. And we talk a lot about this and a lot of other great things here on the show, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you have comments or suggestions about what you use in the storytelling world, throw it in the comments. We'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear maybe even some good stories. And if you like this video, go ahead, give it a like. If you're not already subscribed, be sure to subscribe to the channel. We're giving out great content weekly, all about sales. We've got a couple of great videos that have come up recently that people have been really enjoying. We think you'll enjoy them too. I'm Alex Wellings. We'll see you next time.